everyone, welcome to the Kimberly Guilfoyle Show, live on Rumble, where facts come first and where news is done right. Big breaking news on multiple fronts today. Top host Tucker Carlson of Fox News is leaving the network in a major network shakeup. Tucker Carlson's been a dear friend of both myself and Don Jr. He is a tremendous talent. This is definitely a loss for the network, but mark my words, he will land on top. And the network said in a statement, quote, "We thank him for his service to the network as a host and prior to that as a contributor. And his last show was on Friday. We'll have more reaction coming up." Tucker is really such a talent, so we wish him and his family all the best. And longtime host Don Lemon is also gone from CNN, saying he was fired after 17 years and saying he was stunned. And meanwhile, Biden's domestic policy advisor Susan Rice is leaving the White House, raising more questions about the turmoil plaguing Team Biden. We have full coverage just ahead. And yet another embassy evacuated under Biden, this time in Sudan. Benghazi hero and 13 Hours co-author Mike Geist will be here to react. And Rogan O'Hanley, you know him affectionately as social media. He's a superstar, DC Draino. He'll be here to lay out all of Biden's never-ending failures. That's going to be a long list, folks. That's just ahead. And Truth Social CEO and former chairman of the House Intel Committee, Devin Nunes, will join us in just moments to react to new developments about corruption inside Team Biden. Which brings us to our top story on the growing rot inside federal law enforcement and the refusal to hold Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, and the whole Biden family accountable for their nefarious foreign relations. And we lead off today with the most indisputable evidence yet that the Biden campaign was directly involved in perhaps the most egregious act of election interference in modern political history. As we are now learning that the Biden campaign in 2020 pushed former CIA Director Mike Morell to help Biden by organizing the infamous October 2020 letter that falsely claimed the Hunter Biden laptop was part of a Russian disinformation campaign. In sworn testimony, Morell told the House Judiciary Committee that Secretary of State Tony Blinken, who was then a Biden campaign advisor, reached out to him to put together the letter to help the Biden campaign. Now, that letter was then spewed by Biden allies in the media and even by Joe Biden on the debate stage to falsely tell the American people that the contents in the laptop, which revealed extensive evidence of foreign corrupt practices by the Biden family, were Russian disinformation. Of course, nothing could be further from the truth. The laptop was real all along. We all knew it. Biden has been corrupt and compromised all along. We all knew it. And even the media is now being forced to admit it and actually cover the story. Take a look.
A letter released Thursday night from the Republican chairman of the House Judiciary and Intelligence Committees, former CIA Deputy Director Michael Morell, told congressional investigators that days after the laptop story, Secretary of State Antony Blinken, then a Biden campaign advisor, reached out to Morell and set in motion the events that led to the intelligence official's public statement.
But this bogus letter became the basis for suppressing the story from the American people and protecting Joe Biden at all costs. Remember, the laptop isn't a story just about Hunter Biden. It's about Joe Biden and how the Biden family used their political status to profit and peddle influence. And meanwhile, according to a report, there is growing frustration inside the rank and file of the FBI on the length and lack of action in the tax probe into Hunter. The U.S. Attorney's Office in Delaware reportedly finished up the bulk of the casework over a year ago, and they've been reviewing 4 possible charges: 2 misdemeanor counts of failing to file taxes, a felony count of evading taxes relating to a business expense, and a gun purchase charge. And meanwhile, an IRS whistleblower sent a letter to Congress and wants to reveal his evidence that the investigation is being mishandled and that there's massive cover-up underway. His lawyer said in a recent interview, quote, "He is not a political person. He is not a social media person. He is not coming here with a political agenda." Will Democrats support this whistleblower coming forward to tell his story? Or do they only like fake whistleblowers who have a political agenda against Donald Trump? Here to respond to all of this, Truth Social CEO and former chair of the House Intelligence Committee, Devin Nunes. Devin, a pleasure to have you on the program. Thank you for joining us.
Great to be with you, Kimberly.
As again, another big news day, but first off, let's go over your reaction, if you will, to the news that Tucker Carlson is leaving Fox. This comes on the heels of Dan Bongino. We hear there may be more people exiting Fox News. How does this change and shape the media landscape?
Well, it's a big gamble, I think, for Fox right off the bat. And, if you go back several years ago when Roger Ailes, who largely had built Fox News, he was let go. And then you had Bill O'Reilly was let go. And then you had a couple other people where they were lucky to get somebody like Tucker Carlson, who they kind of had in the minor leagues, and they were able to elevate him. And he became, the MVP. And he's largely been leading cable television now for several years. Now, the difference, Kimberly, is this isn't 5 years ago. And the technology has changed. 5 years ago, we didn't have a Truth Social or a Rumble that stand there fighting and protecting free speech. So now somebody like Tucker Carlson, if he wanted, or anybody else for that matter, that's on any of these other networks, even CNN, even Don Lemon could actually go and join Rumble, right?
It's true.
Those options.
Do you know something I don't know?
But my point is that I think it's a risk for those reasons, because the technology has moved on. It's not like everybody just has cable TV like, a decade ago. Now there's so many people that have podcasts and
everyone's streaming.
And now these simulcasts, right? Streaming, exactly.
And doing big numbers. You see Don Jr.'s show, mine show, we're all doing really well, thanks be to God, because people are actually going for an alternative where they don't have news, suppressed. And that's why we love Truth Social and Rumble. All right, so let's go move forward here, because I really want to talk to you about this whole deal. Now, you were in Congress and part of the team, that exposed the whole Russia hoax. It was a phenomenal moment in time, and kudos to you for getting after it. This feels like kind of the same playbook. What's your reaction to the new developments and Tony Blinken's reported involvement in all of this?
Yeah, it just shocks me, really. It's because they've doubled and tripled down, the left, since 2015 and 16, when they thought, oh, let's work with the FBI, let's develop the Steele dossier, let's tell everybody it's real. If you look what happened by this time, they didn't even bother using a fusion GPS. Dirty tricksters, consultants, people that could lay this off to their buddies in the media. No, they went right to one of their top guys, Tony Blinken, who they then put in the number 3 position in the U.S. government. Arguably, the Secretary of State is normally seen as the number 3 position in our government.
Yes.
And so I don't know. Look, unlike the Democrats, I want to say this: he's innocent until proven guilty. Right now, you have Morell. Can they corroborate this with other people? Can they put the emails, text messages, all of that together? Look, once Blinken comes in, and ultimately he will have to come in, and then he'll have to either plead the fifth or actually answer the questions. And if he did this, I don't see how he can stay on as Secretary of State.
Yeah.
This is one of the biggest, unlike the Russia hoax and the Steele dossier, which in 2016 it didn't work. I think we can argue that it played a part in the 2018 midterm elections. I think Donald Trump still suffered from it in 2020. But for sure, this scandal of the Hunter Biden laptop with all kinds of crimes, forget the tax crimes alone, this swayed the general election in 2020. And then Blinken gets rewarded by getting one of the very top jobs in our nation.
It's unbelievable. You can't even make this stuff up. It's like you're watching it on like Netflix, you're reading it in a book.
Yeah.
You lived it, you've had a front row seat to it, and you've then moved on in your life to be part of the actual solution so that we can stop this. So talk about the close ties between the security state and the Democratic Party, because they're emerging more and more in a troublesome fashion and in rapid succession every single day. Are you concerned that something like this could happen in the 2024 election? It's what I get asked every day. I would like you to answer it.
Yeah, so do I when I'm out there too, is, people are asking, well, what are we going to do about, how are we going to stop them from cheating in 2024? And look, I think the answer is with information. It's with what you're doing. And I don't want to always bring everything back to Truth Social and Rumble, but it truly is that. I mean, one of the challenges that we've had is that it's bad enough you've got the fake news and then you have the delivery system of that fake news. But what it effectively does is it takes those swing voters, the ones that decide elections, and it effectively keeps them in the dark. Because a lot of those people, Kimberly, they just want to go to their soccer game, their kid's soccer game.
Yeah.
They pick up their phone, right? And they look at their phone and they look down at the news. And then they're like, oh, Trump bad. Oh, Biden good. Well, the problem they have now is they can't actually even put Biden out there, because every time they put him out there for even 10 or 15 seconds, he looks horrible. And then you've got the same with Kamala Harris. And now you've got the problems in the economy. And so I think that's gonna make a difference. Plus what you saw last week. What you saw last week with Anheuser-Busch and Bud Light, this fiasco, they tried to keep that hidden. But suddenly, boom, like it just didn't get out. Like they couldn't control it because it was so ridiculous, it spread. And that's the difference. I think people that have real information will make good decisions when they go to vote. And I think no matter, you need to get to a point that no matter, the level of cheating, that we're going to be prepared for it. And I think the biggest danger that we have, it really only comes down to a few states. Let's just face it, right?
Yeah, it does. It comes down to those few swing states. And name the states that you think that are most problematic and that we have to have the most, just like watch over to make sure that there isn't nefarious behavior.
Yeah, and let's just go back quickly to what it was in the 2016 elections. It was 10 states, right? It was Florida, right? North Carolina. I think some of those states are now off the map for the Democrats. Mm-hmm. Maybe not North Carolina so much, but President Trump, in order to win, he's going to have to do what he did in 2016, and he did what no other president has done in modern history. I think you have to go back to Ronald Reagan. And that is, you have to win one of the three. And those three are Wisconsin, Michigan, or Pennsylvania. And you still have to win Georgia, you still have to win Arizona, but you got to pick up one of those three in order to win. Now in 2016, he ran the table on all of those, right? He won Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. So that's going to be the key. And that's why I think a lot of folks that have watched politics for a long time think that Donald Trump really is the only one that has proven that he can go out and turn out the votes. Now the question is, all of the legal efforts have to be put into those big cities within those states to watch out for the cheating.
Yeah, it's really true. And because, definition of insanity, doing the same thing over again and expecting a different result. So we know that we have problems. We saw it in Arizona with, and specific focused evidence of it that was quite compelling as it relates to Kari Lake and her bid for governor of Arizona, what happened and what transpired there. We saw stuff in, Georgia. I can't even believe still, like Fetterman got elected in Pennsylvania. That's a whole other situation. But, these were sort of surprising, but not really surprising. And that's why people want to make sure there's an infrastructure, a game plan, that there's a legal effort, that there's people on the ground to be able to really fight, for and protect the integrity of the democratic process and our election, integrity, which every American should want. This should not be an issue that is partisan. It should be purely bipartisan in nature. One valid legal vote for each person. Shocking, weird idea. But, at the same time, you saw the momentum and what President Trump had, the record number of people that turned out, him receiving more votes than any other incumbent president in American political history. Nevertheless, a very confusing and very troublesome, result coming out of that election. So, they have to deal with the fact that you don't want there to be voter enthusiasm suppression where people are like, well, no matter what happens, the Democrats are always going to, cheat and win. There's that sentiment out there. There's also the sentiment like, well, why should we get involved and make sure and blah, blah, blah if we're not certain that there's something that we can do differently. There's people that talk about the ballot harvesting. We got to play by the same rules. Otherwise, how can we expect a different result?
Yeah, and I think, look, the answer is essentially twofold. It's one, the free flow of information. And I think that part is for sure, this is going to be sped up rapidly with just more and more people, that are looking for alternatives like True Social and Rumble. That's just going to continue to spread that word. So that's kind of the communications arm, the top. And then on the bottom, the infrastructure, the architecture, it's really lining up the lawyers, real lawyers, good lawyers, and a team of volunteers and people that are paid on the ground in those blue states, monitoring every single polling place to ensure that nothing abnormal occurs. I think that's going to be the big challenge. And of course, look, really I think under any normal circumstance, with the way that things are going now, and a year from now is a long time in politics, as you are well aware. But it's a bleak horizon for the Democrats right now, because I even question whether or not, I know Biden is supposedly going to announce he's going to run tomorrow.
Right. I was going to ask you that next. You're very clairvoyant.
Well, I just don't see him. I think there's a high likelihood he's not going to make it.
Doesn't he have to say it, Devin? This is what I think. And I told people this today and last night. I was like, listen, he's got to say that he's running, okay? Otherwise, he's like wounded, bleeding out, okay? But he's got to, otherwise he won't have any authority. He'll be a total lame duck. He's got to say, even if things change and swap out at the last minute, he's got to say he's running. And let's see what happens. But I'm of your opinion. I don't see him being able to like go the distance.
Mm-hmm. And look, today was like the day of long knives, right? We saw the Tucker Carlson big news, Don Lemon also big news. But earlier this morning, Susan Rice.
Oh, right,
Susan
yeah.
Rice, who has been running this White House, is announced quietly this morning that she's going to leave. Almost like she knew that Tucker Carlson and Don
Honey,
Lemon
they always do that. That's why CNN's like, oh, Tucker's out. Now we're going to say Don Lemon's out. Oh, okay, this one's out. Good time to do that. Like bury the leads, right? Like that. Yep. We know how that works, okay? Let's be honest. All right, I also, go ahead.
Well, I'm just going to say that Susan Rice is effectively running this White House. She's Obama's top person. She's been running this White House. I think it's a strange move at this time to see her walk out the door.
What does it mean to you, though? Because everyone knows she's been basically running like psyops in there, and it's just like a puppet government for Obama. But what do you think's going on?
I don't know, but I think it needs. I think the answer is that there's more that we need to know, but it's a serious move. It's a serious move of the chess pieces when the top person in the White House. I mean, there's no argument with that amongst people in the know that she's the top person. He's going to announce tomorrow, and then she's going to leave in a month. Now, look, maybe it's totally normal. She's going to go work on the campaign. I doubt it. I think probably what they're trying to figure out is, who the hell are they going to get to run if Biden can't make it the distance? And I agree with you. I think the one thing
please don't tell me that you're not saying that you think Susan Rice is going to be. Oh my God.
I don't think she's going to be.
I'll cry.
I know some people are speculating that. I don't believe that, but I do believe that she's going to be out looking for who it is that's going to replace Biden, because, I mean, look, I just can't see Kamala doing it. I really can't. So they have.
And we know Gavin Newsom wants to, but like it's not going to be Kamala because she doesn't have any of the support. She doesn't have the support within the administration, or outside, and she has like zero popularity. Some people thought like, Weekend at Biden's was like charming in some ways, like, oh shucks, but even they're now like, wow, this is really bad. I don't know. I think Gavin will make a big play. But yeah, I think we really need to keep an eye on exactly where Susan Rice lands, because that's going to tell us a lot about what they intend. Because this is still very much the Obamas running things, let's be honest.
That's exactly right, and we probably won't know because it'll be a lot of dark money shifting around, but they'll
follow the money.
They'll show themselves at some point. You will know who kind of the Obama team is coalescing around, and what are they clearly are working on some type of game plan for the fact that as I believe, I just think it's going to be tough for Biden to make it. And I agree, he has to stay in because of Hunter's problems and his own problems. He kind of has no choice.
Big time.
But I mean, there's even stories this morning that I saw that Hunter Biden is like locked in the White House, and you did see him travel with the president for a week. It's almost like they're sticking, their finger in the eyes of the American public saying, we don't care what's on the Hunter Biden laptop. Look, my son's going to be right next to me the whole time. It's like they're making a mockery of the American system.
Oh, they absolutely are. So they have him under some weirdo, like, Hunter Biden, like Home Alone 12. Like he's like locked in the house, like Macaulay Culkin. What a freak show. Okay, I have so many things I want to talk to you about. All right. How about this? So there's a mountain of evidence recently talking about following the money, okay? My mind on my money and my money on my mind. The IRS whistleblower who wants to talk to Congress reports about a total frustration inside the FBI. Why do you think this is all coming out now?
So this is an interesting case. I believe my sources at least tell me that, I used to, obviously I served in Congress, but I also was on the Ways and Means Committee. So I dealt with a lot of these whistleblowers that would come forward from the IRS.
Right.
What this strikes me as is somebody who is not a Republican, probably not a Donald Trump supporter, but probably knows that ultimately this could lead back to the folks over at the IRS that are supposed to be enforcing these laws. Very similar to the whole episode at the National Archives, where it was all fun and games to say, oh, look at those documents over at Mar-a-Lago. Yeah. Here's a criminal referral. Go get them, Biden DOJ. And then, boom, it blows up in their face because the bureaucrats at the archives say, hey, Biden's got some documents too, right? So I think that's probably what's driving this. I'm not saying this is not a good American that's trying to do a patriotic thing, but probably a lot of them are getting nervous that nothing's happening, and they know that a lot of this is going to come out. But I will tell you this, Kimberly, if that was the Donald Trump Jr. laptop, the last thing
it'd have a lot of pictures of me on it. That's all I gotta say.
But the last thing that you're talking about, though, is the tax laws. I mean, there are so many crimes that are obvious that you or I or anybody watching this would have been busted for years ago already, and none of that's happened. The fact that they're down to these obscure tax rules is I think, very strange. But it is where you see James Comer and the House Oversight Committee. They're following the money. They're following it closely. And now they're saying there's up to 9 Biden family members that were recipients of these foreign dollars.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's quite pervasive, and it's got tentacles everywhere. But there better be some justice. I am a big believer. Justice delayed is not justice denied. All right, I got another one for you real quick here. So it seems like, and this is what I think about every day, I'm like, whatever the Democrats, we notice this, accuse everyone else of doing is what they're actually doing themselves. And this is just another example because, as it turns out, they were the ones interfering in an election, right?
Yeah, did you? You know, another obvious thing, too, Kimberly. If you think of the Hunter Biden laptop and everything that's on the Hunter Biden laptop, it looks eerily similar to the Steele dossier. If you just take out like Donald Trump and put in Hunter Biden, I mean, the dossier is actually real.
That's where they got it.
Hunter Biden. It's possible that that's where they got it from.
It's so nuts. I'm dead serious. It's so funny because they're like, well, we're too ridiculous and incompetent to come up with some stuff on our own. So let's just like copy everything Hunter's doing and switch the name to Trump. I bet it's not going to work.
Well, but remember not to I'm going to test everybody's knowledge on the Russia hoax here. Remember, it was Hillary Clinton had to take out Biden in 2015 and 16 to prevent him from running. Remember, he was one of the prominent candidates.
Oh, I do.
And the accusations about problems in Ukraine didn't come from Donald Trump or House Republicans or anything like that. It came from the fake news, who wrote numerous articles, probably generated by someone like Fusion GPS.
Right.
So the fact that Fusion GPS in 2015 and 16 would say, they would probably know everything about Hunter Biden. Not that they had his laptop, but it's kind of like, hey, let's just go and accuse Donald Trump of having prostitutes in a Moscow hotel room, just like we know that Hunter Biden and others have done.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's so pathetic. Okay, I want to shift gears for a minute because we're both California folks. Okay, Governor Newsom, say my name, is now sending the National Guard to San Francisco to combat the fentanyl crisis. What is your reaction to what's happening across the state of California? Because the whole idea is, oh, okay, I should be someone that's considered to run for president, but not really, not when you see this big mess in California. It's the exact opposite of what we want spreading across the country and all the lives that have been lost with this porous border between Biden and Newsom. So tell me what you think is happening, because I know you keep close tabs on it.
I don't know how long it's been since you've spent any significant time in California, Kimberly, but
yeah,
it's
been a minute.
It is going down fast. And if you take even my little home city, I'm halfway between San Francisco and Los Angeles in the agricultural region, 60,000 people in my home city. You've got 5 or 6 years ago, we had virtually no homeless, a handful of people down on luck, that sort of thing. Now on any given day, there's 400, 500, 600. And that's just in my city. And it exists in every city across the state of California. So look, the future of California, I think, is bleak. Look, even with, you mentioned immigration. California has lost population for 3 years in a row. So think about losing population last year, even in a year when some 3, 4, 5 million, maybe 6 million people illegally have come over the border during the Biden administration because they've essentially opened the doors. Even the people who are coming illegally don't want to come to California.
How sad is that? And the people are coming illegally. They're like, get me out of New York. No one wants that.
They don't want to be here. I mean, I don't know why, but it's a strange phenomenon because California for many decades now have been losing people, but overall they've been making up that number because immigration has come in, and so the population has continued to grow. Well, now you have 3 years in a row with significant population decline in a record year for illegal people coming across the border.
Well, it's terrible. There's a technical term for it, and it's called evacuate the dance floor, okay, in blue states and cities. No one wants that. They're all coming to red states because they don't want all the crime. They don't want the poor quality of life. They don't want all the public safety issues. I mean, it's really sad because Americans deserve better than this, and it's not that easy to move. You know, families have children in schools, neighborhoods, other relatives there. It's a whole complex puzzle, but because their leadership is abandoning them, they are forced to actually give up their home and where they lived and where they were raising their children and educational choices to get to something better for their families. Like it's actually really troubling, I have to tell you. But I know you're on top of it, Devin, a fearless leader, CEO of Truth Social. When you need the answers, you go to Devin Nunes. Thank you so much, Devin, for being on the show today.
Great to be with you, Kimberly. Thank you.
All right. And we have much more coming up with Benghazi hero and our great friend Mark Geist and the one and only Rogan O'Hanley, DC Draino, all coming up next. But first, I am so excited to introduce to you a brand new sponsor, Cozy Earth, offering you the softest, most luxurious, and responsibly sourced bedding in the world. And with Mother's Day right around the corner, you could now be in a better position with all your loved ones by bringing Cozy Earth bedding and loungewear into your home. Moms deserve the best, okay? All the women in our life deserve the best. The men, yeah, they deserve a pretty good time too. So this Mother's Day, give her the super soft, luxurious, designer preferred bedding from Cozy Earth. And Cozy Earth crafts luxury goods that transform your style. Now the bedding is temperature regulating, so you sleep just right. And I have been actually a very long time Cozy Earth customer, okay? I've got the pajamas, I've got the blankets, we sleep on the sheets, okay? And let me tell you, the quality just can't be beat. So I actually felt pretty proud, and it was a nice moment for me to be like, wait a second, they want to be an advertiser and everything on the show. That is so cool because I only sell something that I believe in, that I use, that I own, that is important. And I have, so this blanket we've probably had, I don't know, 5 or 6 years, but made out of bamboo, and it's super, super soft. And there's a promo code there. Promo code Kimberly. Go to CozyEarth.com. You can save up to 35%. Everybody likes it. Everyone fights over these blankets, and everyone loves the sheets. I give them as presents. The dogs want to get on the blankets. The kids love the blankets. Don Jr. loves the blankets. Like a whole situation at the house. So I had to buy 10 of them. But you guys will love it. Mark my words. Go get it and then write me. Yell at me if you don't like it. I'm dead serious. I stand by this, okay? So I love it. You can get a perfect night sleep, and they have a 100-night sleep trial, so you can sleep on it, wash it, try it out however you'd like, and if you are not completely satisfied, send it back for a full refund. And right now, Cozy Earth is having a huge Mother's Day sale. Like I mentioned, save up to 35% off. Promo code Kimberly at CozyEarth.com. That's CozyEarth.com. Promo code Kimberly. And before we get to our major interview with Mark Geist and DC Draino, I want to bring you a special message from Patriot Lifestyle, where you can save more and spend less on a whole host of different benefits, from non-insurance healthcare benefits to savings on travel, identity theft, legal services, and even pet care. Take a look. Kimberly Guilfoyle. We've commissioned a lifestyle benefit program for our America First Patriots, Patriot Lifestyle. This program includes identity theft protection. And as a former prosecutor, I know that identity theft is the fastest growing crime in America. You also have free and discounted legal services, roadside assistance, travel discounts, cashback rewards while shopping on the internet, and our newest service, Pet Assure. Right, Mario and Luigi? Where you receive discounts at veterinarians across the country and pet supply stores. Patriot Lifestyle covers you, your family, and your furry friends for less than $1 a day. Follow the link and please sign up to get your Patriot lifestyle started. And we'll have even more to tell you about Patriot Lifestyle in the coming days and weeks. It truly is an extraordinary value and will improve your life. And those are real animals. Those are the Super Mario Brothers, Mario and Luigi. It's Don's and I have dogs. And look how cute they're, like kissing each other. Oh my God. All right. So now President Trump was in Lee County, Florida over the weekend, where he made it clear that the smears and the more smears that come after him to get thrown in his way, well, the more determined he gets. Take a look.
Other politicians, the harder our enemies hit me, the stronger and more determined I get, like you do in this room.
But it only got better after the speech, as the 45th president got this rousing reception at a local restaurant. Take a look. Every time you see him eat that pizza, don't you want to get a bite? It's so true. And he loves Pizza Hut, I got to tell you. But that is a man who always puts America first and is standing up for the forgotten men and women in Florida and beyond and across this entire country. And a new poll from NBC News finds that a whopping 2/3 stand behind President Trump. And in fact, as he would say it, stand with him because he's fighting for you. Now that, along with a double-digit lead over Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, makes the 45th president the clear frontrunner on his quest to be elected as the 47th president of the United States. And get this, just today, former New York Congressman Lee Zeldin, who we love, a great friend of this family, endorsed Donald Trump. Thank you for that, Lee. And of course, the stakes could not be higher for this country and for each and every one of us. And quite frankly, for the world stage. Because Biden's weakness on the world stage is an obvious disaster, worse than ever, as yet another embassy is being evacuated under Biden's watch, this time in Sudan, with thousands of Americans still stranded, left behind. Under Biden, bad actors across the globe are emboldened as America goes from first to last. Here with more, a member of the heroic security team that fought the Battle of Benghazi in September 2012. 13 Hours co-author and creator Mark Geist joins us. Our dear friend, what a great friend to this family. Don Jr. and I love him. Along with his lawyer, citizen journalist, and social media superstar, Rogan O'Handley. You may know him as DC Draino. I'm going to start. Thanks, guys, for being on the program.
Hey, thanks for having us.
All right.
Thank you for having us, Kim.
Yeah, fantastic. Look at that. Feast your eyes on two great Americans. Are you kidding me? As much as Biden bums me out, when I see these two guys, I'm like, I like our odds. All right, Mark, I'm going to start with you. People know you. They know you as Oz, like you're a Benghazi hero. You save lives. You know what a deadly embassy attack is like. What is your reaction? I know you texted me about this yesterday because I know you were upset about it and we were fired up about it. Tell us what we're seeing in Sudan and your reaction.
You know, what we're seeing is failed policy of President Biden, failure to show strength. And because of that, it just emboldens the Sudanese armed forces as well as the Rapid Security Force, which is actually ran by, it's funded or at least supported by Russia. More in depth to that would be the Wagner Group. If you do your research on them, they're basically a paramilitary mercenary group that is almost like the private army of Vladimir Putin, and they're supporting them. Egypt is supporting the Sudanese armed forces, and it's rapid chaos. More than 16,000 Americans are probably still there, along with green card holders. And I've been contacted by missionaries that have been working over there. We have at least 360 families, which equals about 1,500 people. They're hiding out or hard pointing in churches right now, hoping that the violence doesn't affect them directly any more than it already has.
You know, what does the Biden administration need to do ASAP to help these people and these families in need?
They need to provide and support the nonprofit organizations like myself, Shadow Warriors Project, who is collaborating with Operation Dynamo in getting these Americans out. I mean, this in 18 months, this is the third embassy that we've had to evacuate. It's just ridiculous that we are where we're at in the world stage, and that we have a feckless leader that is basically not doing anything other than reading from the teleprompter.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, he doesn't know where he is. So, Rogan, to follow up on that, can you kind of compare and contrast what we're seeing, on the world stage, the total chaos under Joe Biden and his administration, to the peace and strength and stability under the Trump agenda?
I mean, you can barely compare the two. We went from being respected and feared to being laughed at by other countries under Joe Biden. As much as we understand how fraudulent 2020 was and how inept and, mentally incompetent Joe Biden is, it's, 10x on the world stage, because they actually have to interact with these people. They have to know the ins and outs of what's going on. And, you were talking with Devin about how, this is Obama's third term effectively, right? Susan Rice is leaving, hopefully not to just go, make Michelle Obama the next candidate. But this smells awfully similar to what happened in Libya on the way out under Obama. If you remember Hillary's famous line, "We came, we saw, he died." That was Gaddafi, right? And then that completely destabilized Libya, and we had millions of African migrants and refugees flooding into Europe. Well, guess who shares a border with Libya? Sudan. And guess who's in power right now? Obama's VP. So this has a lot of similar undertones, and I tend to wonder if this is not only tied to what's going on with Ukraine with our confrontation with Russia, but if this is also tied to a greater desire for another migrant crisis into Europe.
That's such a good point. I hadn't thought about that. Wait, let's get your response to that, Mark.
No, I think he's hitting the nail right on the head. I mean, the destabilization of these countries, Hillary Clinton, the Obama administration did that in Libya, where I was at. I mean, you look at what happened in Afghanistan. I mean, it was just a disaster of the way that we tried to leave that country. And I think that was all just to get out of there because he knew that we were going into Ukraine. I love the Ukrainian people. I've worked with them, but I'm not sure if I want that kind of democracy when you have Zelensky, who has shut down every media organization except for the one that he runs or supports only him. That ain't what we need here. So we shouldn't be pattering after that. And I don't know why we're sending so much money over there just to help them instead of helping our own people right here and controlling our borders, supporting our veterans. We've gone from 22 a day to almost 44. We're seeing spouses and caregivers committing suicide because of the struggles that they have from the taking care of the veterans that served our country.
Wow.
And to not be paying attention, that's ridiculous.
It's like we're repeating the same mistakes over and over again, but this may be all very specific and intentional, Rogan, as you mentioned.
Yeah, absolutely. There's multiple examples of the intentional humiliation of American citizens, of the American military. Look who he brought back from Russia and look who he left over there. He brought back the woman that kneels for the national anthem and left the Marine who's fought for our country. Look how he treated Ashley Babbitt's shooter. They didn't even bring that guy to trial. They shot a female unarmed veteran and didn't even investigate it properly. And then, with Afghanistan, and then John Kirby recently says, oh, that was organized and that was totally thought out. There's 13 service member families who I believe would disagree strongly with that statement, in addition to dozens more that don't have limbs because of what happened. So the humiliation is intentional. It's meant to say the anti-American people are in charge. We want to demoralize you. We want to crush you. But guess what? We, the people, the American people, are so much stronger than them. And we are going to come roaring back to reestablish what is good, what is right, to strengthen our military and to bring back hope to this country. Because as Mark mentioned, with that increase in suicides, that is no coincidence with what we're seeing right now. Imagine being a veteran who is fighting daily battles in your brain, in your body. And then to see what happened in Afghanistan and to see what this Biden regime is doing to military people, to wokeify the military. I mean, that I feel so bad for these people. So this is a very urgent crisis.
No, you're right. There's 22 veteran suicides a day in this country, and that's got to stop. We have to put, an end to that and honor their service, and we have to protect them abroad. And by the way, we have to protect our citizens, or you said green card holders, whatever, families, everybody. We can't allow this to happen, because then people know we're vulnerable, and it just encourages, aggression on a large geopolitical scale against American citizens and, abroad. And it's a very dangerous time that we're living in addition to the fact that they're trying to devalue the dollar and the currency and change the currency altogether. I mean, this is all playing into China and Russia's hands over and over again. It's like a playbook of what you would do exactly to destabilize this country, weaken our country, put America last. It's just, Rogan, I mean, how would you describe it? I mean, is this the Biden doctrine?
I mean, it's the Obama doctrine to me. Biden
Very good answer.
Just a puppet.
It's true.
Yeah.
That's what we heard about earlier. As we were talking about, okay, Susan Rice is leaving. What does that signal? She'll be gone in a month. He's saying that he's going to announce that he's 100% running for re-election. Wondering where she's going to end up. That's going to tell us a lot about what we're going to get. So they're going to figure out who can be the next Obama puppet, in there. That's what it's looking like to me. Mark, so when you think back to Benghazi, and by the way, all our kids get fascinated and so respectful about what you went through watching that movie, 13 hours. When you think back about to Benghazi and you look at Afghanistan, and then you see this crisis, in Sudan, what is the message that you want to get across about how this looks to the rest of the world?
Well, it looks like we're weak. It looks like we have an administration that doesn't care about American lives. I mean, if you look at this, they exfilled out of Sudan in the middle of the night without putting out anything to any of the 13,000 Americans that live there, that work there, that are running missionaries there, that are bringing Christ to some of the worst parts of the world and helping with food crisis that's there. And now it's just exemplified even stronger. It's just magnified because Khartoum right now is having food shortages, having electricity, fuel shortages. You're going to see kids that are going to be starving soon. And Africa is one of the worst countries where we've seen some of the worst combat, or at least atrocities in any form of combat, than we ever have. And I just think it's really sad that we had to leave in the middle of the night. And if you look at what the administration, or at least the left-leaning media is doing, if you look at the language that they're using already, and they gained it from Afghanistan, because they said the people that stayed in Afghanistan that were Americans chose to stay there because they didn't want to leave. Mm-hmm. Well, now what they're saying is they're not even calling them American citizens, they're calling them dual citizens. They're not saying Americans are left behind. They're saying that there's dual citizens, both American and Sudanese, who chose to stay behind. So they're even taking that idea that just to change it.
So devalue?
Yeah, devalue who it is. So the American people don't feel this. I mean, they're just dual citizens. So
moral or ethical obligation. They're part country, part other country, et cetera. It's a semantic game to devalue human life and American citizens, but they're not fooling us, I'll tell you that much. So Rogan, I got to tell you something. You got a nice shout out from 45 this weekend in Lee County.
I did. I was very surprised and very honored to have that shout out. I had a mouthful of braised rib when he was saying it, so I did my best to swallow and not choke and stand up and wave. And but yeah, it was truly an honor.
Well, you totally deserve it. You're a total warrior. Everybody loves your stuff on social media. It just goes the difference. We got two guys on the screen right now and on the show. The difference that one person can make in the world. Both of you are doing that. I want to ask you also, Rogan, just kind of give your assessment, the state of the race and what's at stake in 2024.
Well, it's interesting. When I met with President Trump before his speech and got a picture, we chatted for a second, and I had dinner with him a couple months ago. We talked extensively, and I noticed an absolute shift, not only in his polling and his momentum, but I said for the first time, I think there's a chance Ron DeSantis does not run. I think, he's gotten a taste of what would happen. And, I've also noticed, I've talked about this on social media, he doesn't have a lane. Okay. Yes, there are 10 to 20% of Republicans that, are over Trump. They want to move on. But Ron, that's not enough to beat Trump. Trump's got 30, 40, 50% absolutely locked up, probably more now, depending on the state.
Well, and a lot of key endorsements coming in. It's sort of, not so good that, his brethren in the state of Florida are one by one, all endorsing President Trump. I mean, it's supposed to be, DeSantis's home field advantage. That doesn't show well.
It's what, 7 or 8 to 1 at this point. And I think the turning point was Byron Donalds, because he's largely seen on the inside as a potential successor to DeSantis. He gave the speech at DeSantis's victory party, and then for him to endorse Trump wholeheartedly, I mean, that was a big signal. Yeah. And I've also said to people, what is DeSantis going to do close to the primaries when Trump is going through his trial for this bogus indictment in New York, which is supposed to be in January, the primaries in February? What's he going to do? Join with the deep state and attack Trump? The MAGA base will never vote for him again. So he has to realize that he is being used as a pawn by the Rhino establishment to stop Trump, and they will ruin DeSantis in the process. If he wants a chance at 2028, he's got to unequivocally step aside.
But this is what I said. It's not smart strategy. You went from being up here, everyone happy with you, align yourself, should have endorsed Trump right away. Because one thing, if you want to play with Trump, find out. He's going to be damaged because the base is vicious. Okay, they're going to be like, we remember you. They've got a long memory for this type of stuff. So then it actually opens up the lane for someone else to run in 2028 that Trump endorses and supports, and that will carry weight. That's the problem. It makes no sense. And he's getting injured by this. I mean, I saw, and we all saw what Trump did to 16 qualified candidates in 2016. I mean, it was just, he smashed them. They're still stuck with the nicknames to this day. It's unbelievable. So, I think the one that came out on top, who I absolutely love, is Ben Carson is amazing and honorable, and they got along really well during that whole, campaign, and were courteous and nice to one another. And he did a phenomenal job in, HUD for President Trump, and he came out very strong for him, with this bogus sham indictment. But I pay attention to all of it. We got a good memory, and we're writing the list now. Who's been naughty and who's been nice? I mean, it's anyway.
Mike Pence made one big mistake on January 6th. He crossed the MAGA base, and they've written him off forever. Why would DeSantis want to flirt with that type of danger to his future political prospects? And I'm a huge DeSantis fan for governor, but absolutely not for 2024.
Yeah, we live here. We love the job that he's done, but what are we doing here? Come on, be smart about it. Who's advising him on this stuff? It's a total mistake. So that's that. So we agree on that. All right, jury's verdict is in on that. So Mark, I wanted to follow up a little bit, because the problem is, and we get a lot of emails and comments and everything from viewers and just the people that I talk to, a lot of Americans feel like there really is misplaced priorities, in the Biden administration, okay? And that's going to resonate here for the 2024 election when people have a choice. But we are also seeing, and this is disturbing to me, on a national security stage, we're seeing a big fall off in, recruiting. It's basically falling off a cliff. How vulnerable are we now to this growing aggression from adversaries like China, like Russia, like North Korea?
Well, and, unfortunately, they're trying to sell us this idea that we don't need people on the ground to take ground or hold ground. We can do it with technology. We can do it with missiles and airplanes. Well, you know what? You can, but you've got to have troops on the ground. You got to have those guys and gals out there that have the intestinal fortitude to stay in the fight, to stand beside each other, to take and see your brothers and sisters die next to you and stay in that fight and keep going, moving forward. We can have the greatest military in the world, but if we have a leadership that is either predictable or predictable in the sense that they won't use it, then that military is worthless anyways. And I think a lot of this wokeness that's coming out in the military and our generals who are just cowtailing and to the administration is just ridiculous. They're not doing their job. They're supposed to be leaders who stand for our troops, take care of our troops, and then because they're going to be the ones leading in battle. But then, unfortunately, I think the last general that's probably ever led from the front, or at least led in combat, up front was General Patton. And none since. I mean, most of them, all of them just about are always from in the rear with the gear, making decisions instead of being up there. Old Blood and Guts was right up there with the troops, got shot at, was right there next to them, living and dying and seeing what went on and driving them forward. And that's the kind of leadership we need in this country. And really, that's the kind of leadership I think that Trump provides. He is that person that we know can do the job. I mean, we've seen what he did for 4 years, and anybody else that's running is going to have to say, this is what I can do. Believe in me. Now, instead of saying, this is what I did do,
I love that.
Follow me.
It's so
and
true.
That's what we need.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. There is no speculation, conjecture, guesswork. Trump did it once, he'll do it again. We need someone in there that knows what the hell they're doing on day one. All right, this isn't time for joking around, training wheels and nonsense. All right, you need somebody in who can actually get it done, like a true leader, a general in there to go all out. So Rogan, this all ties into what we've also learned about the ties between the Biden campaign, the laptop, the security state, and the corruption staring us in the face. What is the way forward for the MAGA movement?
To fire 50,000 deep state bureaucrats in the first week that Trump is back in office. I think that's what he was intending to do with a document called Schedule F that would change the designation of a lot of these bureaucrats who are very well protected in kind of a unionization effort, but that would make them more political appointees, and as they should be, right? This is the executive branch. It's accountable to President Trump. They are not independent, okay, but they are acting independent. It has become an entrenched fourth branch of government that is wildly corrupt, that has now 100%. Been weaponized more than ever before to go after American citizens. You barely ever hear about any overseas international terrorist threats. They are focused on the soccer moms and the peaceful protesters.
And the Catholics, they're after the Catholics. They spied on the Catholics. Now, what the heck did we ever do?
Yeah. So he and I think, he has mentioned that in his speech on Friday to the Lee County GOP. He said sometimes, people just had to see how bad it was so that we can truly go in there and clean house more than we would have been able to had we gone through seamlessly into 2020. So sometimes there's a silver lining to all this madness, but we have a lot of work to do to get them over the finish line in 2024. But absolutely. Yeah, off with 50,000 of them for sure.
I totally agree. And here's what I'm going to say to you. The thing about, Trump is he's his own man. He's very independent. They don't like him on either side, quite frankly, the swamp, the establishment, the deep state. And he will go in there. And it doesn't matter if you have a Republican next to your name, affiliation. It doesn't matter. If you got to go, you got to go. And that's the thing that I love about him. He calls the balls and strikes, and he'll do the work, and he'll make sure to get it done. And, we don't need someone in there that's just going to be a rhino and act like another, lightweight, pathetic, empty suit paycheck collector in the White House. That is not what we need in this moment of time in American political history. So we need to make history. We need to change course and get them all the hell out of there, right? Get them out of there, boys.
Here we go.
Absolutely.
You're fired.
Let's go. I love it.
Got to open the eyes of the American people to who runs this country.
100%.
It's not the elected or appointed. It's not even the ones that Obama appoints or Biden appointed. It's the deep state. It's those CIS officers that have been there forever that, have just entrenched themselves and dictate policy instead of following orders and following the leadership of the American people. Because ultimately it all lands with us. Everyone that works inside the Beltway or in any government position is there because they are there to serve the American people. And if they're not there to serve the American people, then, like you said, they need to go.
Yeah, they absolutely do. All right, and Rogan, I'll give you the final word.
Because you know what? I changed my answer. Instead of 50,000, make it 150,000 because we got to get rid of those 90,000 IRS agents too.
You know
There
what?
go.
You're absolutely right. That is a huge point. We've got to get it done. And I think that is a very popular campaign and election point that actually needs to be followed up on, because I think you can get a lot of support for that. And even if Democrats and liberals don't want to admit it, they probably kind of agree and say the same. But I'll agree on this. Both of you are fantastic. Thank you so much for being on the program. We look forward to having you on many more times. God bless you guys, and God bless you for being fearless and getting out there and getting after it.
Hey, thank you so much, and God bless.
All right, take care, honey. All right, and more ahead on all of this. And before we go, another message from one of our sponsors who make this show possible, like Goldco. So diversification is more important than ever. You can hear, we talk about it on the show based on what's going on in the economy, all of the above. Be smart. And gold and silver can protect your retirement savings from inflation and dollar devaluation. You can roll over your 401k or your IRA into precious metals and safeguard your savings, and you can do this tax and penalty free. Now look, we all see the warning signs. We see an economic storm brewing, and I want you to be prepared. I want to be prepared. So from precious metals, whether it's IRAs to direct purchases of gold and silver, Goldco has helped thousands of Americans diversify and protect their retirement savings. So it's very simple. All you have to go to is kimsmetals.com to learn more. That's kimsmetals.com. And that team is phenomenal there. They'll take you through everything, answer all your questions, help you out. You feel good about yourself, the decisions you're making, and the protection you're giving to your family. And in closing tonight, with more and more evidence emerging, we may be closer than ever to achieving real accountability for the actual meddling in our election. It's now staring us right in the face that the Biden campaign intentionally spread propaganda, spewed outright lies, then laundered those lies through the so-called experts and their media allies. Democrats will stop at nothing to take down Donald Trump, sinking to the lowest of lows to lie and deceive the American public. The laptop was real, the Russia hoax was fake, and America's standing in the world is declining. That is a fact. And it's Joe Biden who must answer for his shady ties to foreign actors and for his family's corrupt foreign dealings. And we'll be here on Rumble to cover all of it and hold them accountable. Because here, we reject the false narrative and we always seek the truth. So make sure to like and subscribe to my channel at Kimberly Guilfoyle and Donald Trump Jr.'s channel, and turn on notifications, download the Rumble app, hit the like button on our episodes, and tell all your friends and family so they know exactly where to find us. And also be sure to follow me across all platforms: Twitter, Truth Social, Facebook, and Instagram. Don and I are on all of those as well. Don Jr. has a fantastic show coming up live, 6 p.m. Eastern, right here on Rumble, and he will have one of our all-time favorites and great friends, Senator Ted Daines, here. So you have got to check that out, and hop on over to Locals at kimberly.locals.com for a live Q&A. Have a wonderful evening, and I'll see you all on Monday.
Thursday.
Oh, what does it say? Oh, yeah, on Monday, Thursday, all of the above. Okay. And be sure and check that out on Thursday, live at 4 p.m. I turned into Joe Biden and read the prompter. All right. Hi, everyone. Right? We'll start over again. So everybody go over to Locals. We'll have a great time over there. We appreciate you being here. And on a special note, I just want to say happy anniversary to my sweetheart, Donald Trump Jr. 5 years together, and we're just getting started. Love you guys. Thanks for watching.